Hi guys, and welcome to Reality with Tea. Right now I'm just drinking on the hotel tea that they offered. Nothing special. So tell me what you're drinking in the comments. Okay, thank you for joining me. I'm going to talk about Married at First Sight. This is a recap and review. Let's get started. So I'm going to start out with Olivia and Brett. Okay. This episode, what they did was they had the couples are back from the honeymoons, and now they're going to see each other's places and then move into a neutral place that was picked by the producers, where they can actually start to live as if they live together. They'll supposedly move in together, but first they want to see each other's places and pick up some of the things they're going to bring to the new apartment. At the end of the episode, they all meet with Pastor Cal, and he checks in with how they're doing. So I'm going to start with Olivia and Brett. So we go to her home and we see that she is organized, she's clean. Her parents own an antique store, so she has a lot of antiques in the home. And Brett is, she's renting, but he is impressed. Her home is very neat, organized. It looks very homely. He doesn't like that it's a rental, so he thinks that rentals are a waste of money. So he's very excited about his home and home owning. I'm not sure what kind of work he does. Maybe, I know he has a lot of tools and stuff, so I'm not sure, but he does own his home. So they go over to his home, and I think his house I think he has like a sizely house. It looks nice. It looks like a man's house. It's not much decoration. And it's not like particularly messy or anything like that, but she goes and she kind of walks around, like he says that she reminds him of when you go on a school trip and you're just not impressed and you're bored. He was very excited to show it to her. He said, I have a big kitchen, I have this and that, and she just kind of was just kind of looking around, very quiet, didn't seem invested at all. And I think that really hurt him, because he was very excited. He's very proud of himself for owning a home, and he was very excited to show her what he had acquired. And she didn't show any interest. She actually seemed a little like kind of snobby about it. She told the cameras that it was a little messy. She says that she felt that he cares a lot about his outward appearance and that he works out and eats very healthy, but it didn't so much show on the way that he has decorated and keeps his home. And she says that he has a lot of stuff. And honestly, when I looked at it, to me, I saw a lot of tools and things like that, but it actually seemed pretty spacious. It didn't seem overly messy. I've seen a lot worse. And it seemed like a man's home. Like she said, it seems like a bachelor pad. Well, hello, he has been a bachelor for all this time. He told you that. I don't know what she was expecting, but she was like, it wasn't decorated. So I think instead of her actually taking the actual standpoint of, okay, this is a blank slate for me. I can come in, I can help you with these cabinets, I can help you with this and that, I can add a little flair here. She just kind of, looked down on it. And he felt that, and he knew that, and he was hurt by it. I think that she could have approached that a different way. And I'm still confused about what she was unimpressed by, because that now he's in competition with her, because she already makes more, and he is proud of himself for owning a home. So this is one of his biggest accomplishments. So now it kind of feels like anything I do, she's going to look down. Anything I do is not good enough for her. So, they meet with the pastor. Honestly, he said, go back to this. Honestly, he said he felt like shit because she seemed so bored looking at his place. So at the end of the episode with them, they talk with the pastor, and he said, have you guys talked about kids, religion, finances? And, they actually have talked about all of that stuff. And they actually are on different pages about all of it. When he said that, I'm like, oh, like they all, like, she doesn't want kids. She possibly doesn't want kids at all or anytime soon. He actually does want kids. He's ready to settle down. Religion, they differ. I think he's an atheist and she's Christian. And then finances, she supposedly makes like 2 times more than he does. She's a nurse practitioner from what I understand. And then he even made the comment to Pastor Cal, yeah, we talked about finances and she's pretty loaded. So that's been bothering him, right? And, she actually said, you actually own your home. I don't own my home yet. She said, you're actually working on a lot of certifications so that you can, you're doing whatever you're doing in your field to better yourself, to put yourself in a better position. So she's actually saying, this shouldn't be such an issue because you're doing what you need to do. What you're doing, your star is rising as well. So I don't understand why it's such a big deal that I make so much more than you, right? So, she says, as far as for her finances, she likes to go to games, she likes to travel. And then he said, that's fine, you foot the bill. So at this point now they're getting personal. He's taking things personally, and now he's kind of competing with her, and that's what the doctor says. So she says, she says, he puts money into a home. He says, I put money into my home. And she's okay, so I'm just so irresponsible. You know what I mean? Because now he's just taking jabs at her because he's upset. And so then the doctor had to intervene and says, what is it that you hear her say? And he says, he's hearing her say, I want to do those things such as going out, traveling, games, spending my money in this way. So screw you. And she really isn't saying that. She's just saying, this is the lifestyle that I had, and I don't want to I'm not gonna like just stop doing these things. These are things I'm still want to enjoy with my life. This is who I am, So she says she budgets, and she just puts those activities within her budget, right? And he thinks that she's throwing away money. So the pastor says, listen, we're not comparing. And Brett says, yes, she is, because he's upset at this point. And so I think the pastor is seeing that this is a really big issue for them. And Brett is not, he's not at a place where he wants to come to, a compromise, a middle ground. And I understand where Olivia is coming from. I thought the same thing. I used to say, I would hope that my man would make around the same amount that I did, because I don't want to deal with these type of issues. You know what I mean? Like the insecurity, the unable to do this and that, because I've been traveling since college, or even before college. I've been traveling. I've been, I used to like to go to the spa all the time. Because guess what? I work hard for my money, and that's what I like to do. And that's in my budget. Like she said, I pay my bills. I pay my rent. I pay, she said she has some loans, but everything is paid on time. So guess what? With the rest of the money within my budget, I want to, participate in activities with my money, which I can do. It doesn't mean we have to change it. Maybe we can tweak it. Maybe we can compromise somehow. Maybe I don't have to go on 6 vacations a year. We'll go down to 3, but then you just, I don't know, whatever it is. But he is just at a point where he's like, you make so much more money, and I think that's going to be, that might cause the issue between them in this relationship. And honestly, I think Olivia in the beginning came off as like the sweet little Southern Belle type of girl, but now I kind of see her as she's kind of rigid in her ways, and kind of, it's like a little bit, I'm not going to say snobbish, but maybe just not as open as I thought. She can get very rigid and very much, I don't know, she's kind of combative, but we'll see how this goes. Okay, I'm done with them. So now we have, one point, I just have some extra notes. At one point, Olivia's crying. He's trying to explain that that's not what she's saying. And, he's trying to, it seems like when she's trying to express her emotions, I thought that he got up to walk away, and even the pastor kind of looked, but he actually went to go get her tissues. So maybe he is kind of ready to kind of listen to her. And then, the pastor's kind of says, she's not your enemy. Let's try to find a resolution and stop going back and forth. So that was the last of my notes on that. Okay. So now we have Bennett and Amelia. So you go to Amelia's house, and she lives in a large house with 4 roommates. And she said it could be more or less at any time. Sometimes people are in, sometimes people are out. And I thought it was cool because I watched Grey's Anatomy, and they have a house like that where people just move in and out, and like, because they're residents or whatever stage she's in medical school. So they're kind of in and out, and they don't need, she doesn't need a house of her own. They're just kind of sharing. They're all in school. They're kind of in and out, and that was pretty cool. But her house is pretty sizely, and it's nice, And I think that Bennett is immediately a little bit intimidated. He says, like this is like kind of extravagant for me. He says, I don't feel like I have a mature relationship with money yet. So he felt a little bit intimidated. So he found out that she was a homecoming queen, and he's like, wow, this is big. I hope I don't mess this up. I never would have thought in the future I would get a homecoming queen, right? So he's, he's very impressed with her digs. So then they go over to Bennett's house, and he actually built himself a tiny house about 1.5 years ago. And when he's like, I have a tiny house, like it really is a tiny little house, like in the woods. And she was so impressed by it. At first she's like, all your stuff is in here? He has a lot of stuff, but everything is packed in like the tiny houses that you see on TV. And, she says, she's very impressed by it. She's like, this is amazing, the fact that he did this, because I think that she's able to appreciate his creativity, his ingenuity, his ability to go and do this and then live independently. This is on his own. Like that's a huge, like he actually built himself a functioning home. Like that's a huge accomplishment, And what she was able to do was something so small, actually probably like 8 times smaller than what Brett has at his home, and more cluttered and more everything else. She actually was able to look for something that she could appreciate, and she let him know she appreciated it, and she praised him for it, and she was so impressed. And that was what Brett needed to see. Like, it doesn't matter what I have, or the way it's presented, that you are trying to get to know me and you appreciate what I did. Because like Brett said, he owns his place, you know what I mean? Maybe he's decorating it or getting to it room by room. You never know what stage he's at. But just the fact that Amelia had, appreciated, even though her house is so big and extravagant, according to Bennett, she appreciated what he had. That meant a lot to him. So, they meet with the pastor. He says, did you guys talk about kids, finances, the whole thing? They talk about the adoption issue. Brett saying, at first I only wanted to adopt, but now I'm open to biological and adoption. And Amelia said, I'm open to adoption. They talked about finances, that he's completely fine with being a writer, staying at home, raising the kids while she goes and makes all the money. And that's exactly what she wanted. So the pastor's like, okay, so you guys have thrown like traditional gender roles out the window. They talk about moving. That's the only issue that they might have. Would he move? And his thing is, he built a theater company here in New Orleans, and he doesn't know how easy it would be or if he's willing to move. And he says, that's the bridge I'll cross when I get to it. And the pastor says, a lot of people, even though you guys have been on the same page every day, whatever it is you think, a lot of people realize that you're not going to be on the same page every day. A marriage is long lasting, and if you're going to be in this forever, you got to kind of tackle those difficult issues. So we'll see where they go from there. But he said at this point, we have to see what my priorities are. So this is going to be interesting. He does talk about, I think he asked them about attraction to each other. They say they're both attracted, but I don't think that Bennett has been really flirting or coming on to Amelia, or anything sexual has happened. So I'm still skeptical. I think Amelia is all in. I'm skeptical about whether Bennett is really into her in a romantic way. I think that he is into her. I just see friendship now. So we'll see where this goes. Okay. So Miles and Karen, good Lord. All right. So they go over to Karen's house first. And the first thing, Karen has a hang up about him being 4 years younger. So they get over to the home, and you see Miles like looking around. He's kind of like touching everything like a little kid, and she's like, all right. And then at some point near her TV, he said, oh, my Xbox can go right here. And she looks at him, because remember, anything he says that could kind of attribute to him being immature or a little bit childish is kind of giving her hesitation. So he's talking about an Xbox. He says that she has she said at one point, you're misbehaving, and I'm like, oh my goodness, she's talking to him like he's a 4-year-old. This is not good. So they go over to Miles's house, and she notices he has a lot of stuff. He has a lot of shoes, a lot of hats, a lot of junk. And so that was what she noticed. But she also has a lot of shoes all piled up in her closet and the whole thing. So they meet with the pastor, and Karen says that she doesn't really feel married. She's still getting used to basically being married to a stranger, and the pastor has to remind her, he's no longer a stranger, he's your husband. She says she thinks that she needs to get into the day-to-day routine for her to feel more like she's in a married relationship. And he said he's very much attracted to her. She just said, yeah, he's handsome. And he says, compliments are hard to come by. So, apparently she hasn't been giving him too many compliments. So I think that he just doesn't even know where he stands with her. He doesn't know how she feels. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. So, the doctor says, she says she can't get out of the stranger mind frame. It still feels new to her. Basically, they talked about how there has been no intimacy. He says that he's an affectionate person. She says she feels weird because it's been a while since she's been in a relationship and she's been affectionate. So when he touches her, gives her a kiss on the cheek, whatever it is, it feels weird to her. It doesn't feel authentic. And she just can't get used to it. So the doctor says, do you have an aversion to affection? She says no, but she is more affectionate when she trusts, because I guess in the past she's been hurt. So she says that she is nervous, that she is, she isn't getting the real him, and if he will change, when this is over. And so he asked what's the root of her fear. She said it's because of a past relationship, and she's afraid of getting hurt. And then we see her for the first time being emotional. She kind of cries, and she says, I don't know how it's going to work. And then you see in Miles' face that hurts him. I don't know if he kind of got teary-eyed, but it kind of hurt him that she says, I don't know how this is going to work out. But he tried to reassure her, my intention is not to hurt you. I never would want to hurt you. The pastor reassures her, like, he has the heart the size of Louisiana. He's not in this to hurt you. So here's my take on Karen. I feel like I get Karen. Okay, I feel like she's not attracted to him. I think that's what it comes down to. When she's using the word masculine, I don't think she's really meaning it as masculine. I think she means more like alpha male, more confidence, maybe more attractive to her. I don't know what it is. I don't know what she's into. Is he too pudgy for her? Is it the double earrings and the nose ring? That I don't think that would be my thing. Does she need to see past that? Yes, but sometimes that's easier said than done. And sometimes some people need that initial chemistry, that initial, attraction in order to feel like they're actually, like, this is going to work. They're going to be in this relationship. And the way that whenever they talk about affection, to me, if you notice, she kind of like, she'll look down, or she feels put on the spot. Yes, she's talking about this whole trust thing, but I feel like that's just another barrier. Like, she's not a bad person. I think that she knows that Miles is a great person, and she has a lot of pressure on her, because even his mother said, don't break his heart. Everybody's like, he's so sweet, he's a big teddy bear. She doesn't want to hurt him. She doesn't want to make him seem like he's the bad guy. She doesn't want to let him know that she's not attracted to him. But so in order to do that, she has to use other reasons to why she's not opening up, as to why she's not being affectionate, as to why she's not all the way in this. So she's saying, oh, I don't know if I can trust you. Any barrier she can put up. Affection makes me feel, I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with this and that, because, and trust me, I've been there, I've done it. The guy that is so nice and sweet and a great friend, but you're just not attracted to him in a relationship type of way. And I think that's what it is. That's just what I think. Unless there's growth, and if this can grow into something else, but I think right now that's what it is, because she said from jump that she was not attracted to him even before she met him. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, Christina and Henry. Let's see. Christina and Henry. Here we are. Okay. So, she talks a lot about, she talks all the time about how he hasn't made a move. And I'm trying to figure out, is she really into him, or does she just feel a way that he really hasn't tried her yet? Because I don't even see a big attraction to him. So she keeps saying, usually in the past, men have been immediately told me, you're so beautiful, you're the most beautiful person in the world, and then it takes off from there. And maybe because he hasn't done that, it's kind of eating at her a little bit. It's like affecting her confidence a bit. And so it's kind of like, you need to make a move. But it's kind of like, make a move on what? What have you given him to want to make a move on? Have you been affectionate? Have you been sexy? Have you opened up to him? No, you've been impatient and kind of rude to him and very pushy. So I'm trying to figure out where, this move, where is it coming from? And I think that Henry is also feeling the same thing. Like, you're pushing me, but we don't have anything yet, So she doesn't like anything in his apartment. He has a tiny studio, but her stuff is in her car. Somehow she's coming from California or this and that, so she isn't really staying anywhere. She doesn't really have a home. When they move into the new home together, and Henry says, I won't have any parties in here without you. And she was just kind of like, okay. I think sometimes she feels like when he says things like, who is this person? Like, you literally say nothing to me. Now you're talking about having parties. And then he's like, keeps pushing, and he's like, well, maybe I'll do it when you're on a flight, because she's a flight attendant. Or maybe I'll do it. And it's like, are you serious or are you joking? Because, like, you seem like you I don't know. You don't seem like the social butterfly, but whatever. So they meet with the pastor. And Christina says she sees glimpses of an awesome person sometimes. And, in the past, the chemistry has existed, for intimacy to happen. That's how he feels, right? So he does think that she's attractive. Then he gave an analogy about a song, like, how in the very beginning of a song, it doesn't really hit right. Some of them hit immediately and some don't. This is the same type of thing. And they're kind of looking like, okay, so which one am I, And then, you know, the pastor tells him, like somebody else told him, I think if you made a move, she would respond. But he said he feels more of a friendship vibe. So maybe he's in the same situation Karen's in. We don't know because he doesn't give us as much, right? So he says he doesn't know why, but he has noticed that she's impatient and high maintenance at times. And I guess that turns him off. So the doctor acknowledges, listen, she has diva qualities, but maybe it's to bring something else out of you that you haven't explored yet. You know what I mean? Maybe it's to help you kind of level up, you know, as Tanya would say on the other show. And so he said, allow yourself to create intimacy. You guys are doing the minimum. You guys haven't talked about kids, finances, anything. You know, at this point, you guys should have already discussed this. You guys are each not putting in enough to make this work. So he says, you know, allow yourselves to get into deeper conversations and to communicate. You know what I mean? Because right now you guys are doing the minimum, and this is nothing about this is going to work. So that was them. And last, we have Amani and Woody. And, you know, as soon as Pastor Cal walks in, he says, oh, you're smooth. Because, you know, he talks about how beautiful she is. And that's what I say. Woody used to be a player. And Woody knows the words. He knows the game. He knows. So I'm trying to figure out, I just want to see where this goes. Because to me, he's a little too smooth. But we'll see, right? So, you know, he encourages them to talk more deeply about serious issues, because again, we've been great every day, this whole thing, but they really haven't gotten to a point where they've kind of disagreed or been stressed about anything. So he says, like, let's start talking about it. And so interestingly, something came up right at that time. Like as soon as Pastor Cal walked in, and they go back and forth, and he says, listen, you know, I don't really like surprises. And he's like, so, you know, like, don't cut your hair. And like, I come home and you didn't tell me. And so they kind of go back and forth for a while about it. She's like, but that's my physical appearance. I don't have to ask you, you know, that's not something. He's like, yeah, but what if I'm not physically attracted to you? And, you know, she's like, well, why would you not be physically attracted to me? If you're into what's into me on the inside, why does it matter if I cut my hair? And she says, you know, she's trying to figure out if he's running game. To go back and forth. And he says, in the past, something happened to him where I guess he was with a girl. Maybe she got pregnant, and a decision was made, and they didn't talk about it together. So it affected him. And so he would rather, any kind of big decision, what he would see as a big decision, he would rather be a part of it than to come home and find out it'd be a surprise. Because I believe the girl in the past had an abortion, and that affected him. Like, what if he had a say in that? And so she did say, after going back and forth for a while, and Pastor Cal just looking at this like, oh, okay. So now we got into a serious conversation. She says, you know what? I could talk to you about it. I'll do that. Okay. And then, you know, somehow they did theirs. They met with Pastor Cal, then they went to each other's homes. And so you see that he lives with his grandma, and somehow it's cool with him to bring all these girls home or whatever. And grandma's cool with it. But you see, that, you know, he has a hat wall, he has all this stuff, but, you know, and then you see Amani's house, but, you know, it's nothing really that, you know, got my attention, so I won't even go into that. But I think that's it for me. If you can leave me some comments in the comments section, let me know what you think, and tell me, what do you guys think about Karen? Do you guys agree with me or not? I'm trying to think. I wrote some more notes on them because I think that they're going to be the most interesting. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then they talk about the sex thing again, and he says, you know, Miles likes to say, I put everybody else's needs and wants in front of my own. And Karen says, look, I urge you not to do that, because I need to know this is not going to work if I don't know what you're not getting from me. And then you know, he says, you know, if she's happy, I'm happy. And the pastor says, no, it's happy spouse, not happy wife, happy life. And so he said, well, would you be happy never having sex? And Miles says no. So, you know, he kind of puts that there. But the thing is that every time he says that, I think that she kind of clinches up, because she doesn't ever see herself being with him. So again, I'm gonna keep an eye on them. Let me know how you feel. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for joining Reality with T. Thank you.